All right, everyone ready for another deep dive? This time, we're tackling Major League Baseball's offseason. And wow, what an offseason it's been.
Absolutely a real whirlwind.
We've got a mountain of articles, rumors, you name it, and we're going to break it all down, figure out which moves actually matter, which prospects are going to be stars.
You got it. Today, we cut through all that noise and figure out what you really need to know.
Perfect. Okay, got to start with the shocker, right? Corbin Burns, to the desert.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming.
6 years, 210 million, Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, everyone had him going to a contender, big market team, but nope.
He actually reached out to Arizona, wanted to be closer to home, his family in Scottsdale.
So lifestyle over, well, everything else apparently, but this is huge GE for Arizona. Burns is a Cy Young winner. He's still young. Makes them contenders instantly, right?
It really does. Shows they're serious.
But hold on, something doesn't add up. They're already trying to get rid of Jordan Montgomery's salary. How are they fitting Burns in?
It's a good question. Maybe this means they're just getting started, ready to spend big and go all the way.
Now that's a thought. And they weren't the only ones after pitching this offseason. Red Sox picked up Walker Buehler, another former ace, trying to bounce back from injuries.
Right, and it shows you just how important pitching depth is these days. With all the injuries, teams are taking chances on guys like Bueller.
It's an arms race, for sure. Everyone wants that super rotation. And speaking of arms races, those Luis Castillo trade rumors are really heating up. Mariners want to move him, but they're not giving him away.
They want infield help, and that makes things interesting. The Orioles are definitely in the mix. They need a top-tier starter, and they've got some first basemen that could offer, like Ryan Mountcastle.
But don't rule out the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They're always willing to make a splash. They've got some young infielders to deal, and adding Castillo to Gossman and Manoah, that's a scary rotation.
Oh, yeah, and keep an eye on the Giants, too. They've been busy, and they've got Lamonte Wade Jr., who the Mariners could use.
So many possibilities. All right, got to talk about the Yankees. Been pretty quiet, especially after letting Gleyber Torres walk away. Didn't even make him an offer. Ended up with the Tigers.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the end of an era there. But they did pick up Brennan Davis, top prospect, huge potential, but he's got that injury history.
So classic Yankees gamble, low risk, could be huge reward. But it's interesting they didn't try harder to keep Torres, especially after getting Jazz Chisholm Jr. last year.
Makes you wonder what their plan is. Maybe they're building around Chisholm, and they're going to make a bigger move somewhere else.
They always seem to have something up their sleeve. All right, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the big trades, the veterans, but what about the future, the next generation of stars?
Yeah, and it's not just a few guys. We're talking about a wave of talent coming up all across the league.
Our sources have identified some serious prospects who could be making their mark in 2025. Every division's got a few hitters to watch.
For sure. In the AL East, the Red Sox have Roman Anthony. He's generating a ton of buzz, considered the top prospect in baseball.
Five-tool player, hits for average, hits for power, plays great defense, the whole package. And they've also got Christian Campbell, who had a phenomenal season last year.
Oh yeah, Campbell was on fire. Over .330, 20 homers, stole 24 bases.
Red Sox have a good track record with young guys, so I bet we see both of them in Boston soon. Then you got Carson Williams with the Rays, another potential five-tool shortstop.
And the Yankees have a couple of infield prospects, TJ Rumfield and Jorbit Vivas, who could be fighting for a spot pretty soon.
The AL Central's no slouch either.
Yeah.
Guardians have Chase DeLauder, huge power potential, and Travis Bazzana, some people saying he's a future batting champ.
Don't forget about Kyle Teal. He got traded to the White Sox recently, and he's a catcher who can really hit.
Big potential there. Moving over to the AL West, the Angels have Christian Moore, a really dynamic player. His season got cut short by a knee injury, but he was on fire before that.
A's have Nick Kurtz, big power at first base, great eye for the ball. And the Rangers have Sebastian Walcott, super talented shortstop, and he's still just a kid.
Wow, we've covered a lot already, and that's just the American League. What are you thinking so far? Anything jumping out at you?
It's really interesting to see how teams are balancing winning now versus building for the future, like the Diamondbacks going for it with Burns, but also trying to shed salary. Mariners maybe trading Castillo to improve their infield, and then teams like the Red Sox and Guardians really banking on their young prospects.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes game of chess, for sure, and it makes this offseason even more exciting to watch.
All right, let's hop over to the National League. Just as much talent, just as much competition, tons of rising stars ready to make their mark.
Okay, hit me with it. Who are we watching in the NL East?
Well, Phillies have Aiden Miller. Shortstop, smooth swing, gets on base. Could be a high average guy, score a ton of runs.
And what about Gabriel Rincones Jr.? I mean, that guy's got power and speed. Could be a fantasy baseball monster.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Mets have some outfielders, too. Drew Gilbert, Ryan Clifford. Gilbert's got sneaky pop. Clifford's a lefty slugger with a ton of raw power.
Marlins are rebuilding, but they've got some prospects worth watching. Agustin Ramirez, catcher who can really rake, and Jacob Marcy, athletic outfielder with a high ceiling.
And the Braves, as always, they're loaded. Drake Baldwin, a catcher who can hit for average and power, could be splitting time with Sean Murphy before you know it.
Catchers are hot right now. Cardinals have Jimmy Crooks III and Chase Davis. Crooks is a smooth lefty hitter, and Davis has the tools to be a five-tool guy.
Yeah, but they've also got Wilson Contreras, so those young guys might have to wait a bit. Cubs, though, they're overflowing with talent. Owen Casey, power-hitting outfielder, could be a real middle-of-the-order bat.
And then there's Matt Shaw, another potential superstar for the Cubs. Hits for average, power, steals bases, one of the most exciting prospects in the whole league, honestly.
Don't sleep on the Brewers either. They've got Jefferson Cuero, a young catcher, missed most of last season with an injury, but he should be back and better than ever in 2025.
Okay, let's head west. Dodgers, as always, pumping out talent. They've got Dalton Rushing, power-hitting catcher, could be starting soon.
And Alex Freeland, shortstop, who really broke out last year. Hit, speed, power, the whole package. If he keeps that up, he'll be a fantasy stud.
Padres are waiting for Eason Salas to arrive. But until then, they've got Brandon Valenzuela and Tirso Ornelas. Valenzuela's solid behind the plate, and Ornelas is a power hitter in the outfield.
Diamondbacks are on the rise, and they've got some young bats who can help them get there. Gavin Conticello at first base, good hitter, and they're hoping for big things from Josh Naylor, who they got in a trade.
And finally, the Giants. Bryce Eldridge, potential superstar, 6'7" first baseman, power for days.
Yeah, but he's got some swing and miss in his game. Still, that upside is undeniable.
Whew, that's a lot of young guys to keep track of.
It really is. Okay, but let's not forget about the veterans. Those Luis Castillo rumors are still flying around, and now it sounds like a new team's interested.
That's right, the Tampa Bay Rays. But they might be more interested in another Mariners prospect, catcher Harry Ford. Ford's got a lot of hype, but he's not quite there yet defensively. Why would the Rays want him? They've already got a pretty good catching duo with Jansen and Rortvedt.
Well, Jansen's only signed for one more year, so they're thinking long term. And the Rays are always looking for an edge. They must see something special in Ford. Might even be willing to trade a big piece of their current team to get him.
But what could they possibly offer that would make the Mariners give up a guy like Ford? They need infield help, right?
Well, the Rays have Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lowe, who could fit the bill, but those guys are key parts of their lineup. Trading either one would be a big move.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Rays are known for making smart moves. They love collecting young talent. Wouldn't surprise me if they pulled off a blockbuster before the season starts.
And speaking of blockbusters, the Yankees might be getting ready to make a splash themselves. There's been talk about them going after Alex Bregman or Nolan Arenado. Sounds like they're not satisfied with what they've got at third base.
That's a bold move, considering they just traded for Jazz Chisholm Jr. last year. Are they really ready to move on from him already?
Maybe they see him as a long-term solution at second base and want a bigger name at third. Getting Bregman or Arenado would definitely send a message that they're serious about winning it all.
It's fascinating to see how the Yankees are changing their approach. Still willing to spend big, but they're being more strategic about how they build their team.
And don't forget about the Giants. Word on the street is they're trying to get Pete Alonso from the Mets. Now, that would be a huge addition to their lineup.
But didn't they just sign Willie Adams? And they've already got Lamonte Wade Jr. at first? Where would Alonso even play?
They might be open to trading Wade, or they could use Alonso as a DH. Plus, they've got Bryce Eldridge, that top prospect who's also a first baseman.
So they're either going to trade Wade or move Eldridge to make room for Alonso. That's a big commitment to winning now.
It is, but the Giants are all about making big moves. They've been super active this offseason, and it feels like they're not done yet.
The intrigue just keeps building. And we haven't even talked about Roki Sasaki yet, the Japanese pitching phenom. He's got everyone's attention.
Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Cubs, Giants, Rangers, they've all met with him. And I'm sure there are other teams quietly interested too. His decision could really shake things up.
This is shaping up to be one of the craziest off seasons ever, and we're not even close to done. Still so many moves to be made, so many rumors to chase down. Before we wrap up, though, I wanted to hit a few other notable moves and storylines.
Yeah, what else have you got?
Well, the Red Sox signing Walker Buehler to a one-year deal. That was smart. He's had 2 rough seasons with injuries, but if he gets back to form, that's a steal for Boston.
Totally agree. Low risk, high reward could be huge if he stays healthy. And the Dodgers, always looking to get better, they brought back Teoscar Hernandez. Adds another power bat to their already scary lineup.
Tigers made a sneaky good signing, getting Gleyber Torres on a one-year deal. He had a down year, but maybe Detroit's a good place for him to bounce back.
Good move for both sides. Tigers get a potential impact player for cheap, and Torres gets a chance to prove himself. And there's been a lot of chatter about the Mets maybe trading Starling Marte. They've got a lot of outfielders, and they could use his salary to address other needs.
Makes sense. They've got some tough choices to make if they want to balance their current roster with building for the future. And speaking of trades, the Nationals made a big one, getting Nathaniel Lowe from the Rangers. They needed a first baseman, and Lowe can definitely hit.
Solid pickup for the Nationals. They're trying to rebuild, build around their young guys. And, we got to acknowledge the passing of a true baseball legend, Charlie Maxwell. Two-time All-Star, played for the Red Sox, Orioles, and Tigers. He passed away recently at the age of 97.
He was an amazing player, a respected figure in the game. He'll definitely be missed. Man, we've covered a ton of ground today. Blockbuster trades, young stars. It's been wild. This offseason has been a whirlwind, and it feels like baseball's changing right before our eyes.
It really does. Teams are trying all sorts of different things to build their rosters. It's fascinating to watch. Some teams are all in on winning right now. Others are taking a more patient approach.
What really stands out to me is how many big names could be playing somewhere else next year. We're talking about stars like Burns, Castillo, Alonso. It just shows you anything can happen in baseball.
And it's not just the players, right? Front offices are making big moves, taking risks to improve their teams, trading away proven guys for young prospects, spending huge money on free agents.
Definitely creates a lot of excitement. You never know what's going to happen next. Any team could make a move that shakes things up. What do you think about the overall direction of the league right now?
Well, it feels like we're in a transition period. The old guard's starting to fade, and a new generation of stars is taking over. Teams like the Diamondbacks, Mariners, Guardians, they're building something special. And they're not afraid to challenge the big boys.
It's that cycle, right? Teams rise and fall, new contenders emerge. That's what keeps things interesting. Okay, let's have some fun. Who do you think will have the biggest impact in 2025? Just one player, your pick.
Ooh, that's tough. But I'm going to go with Corbin Burns. I think he's going to do really well in Arizona. Good defense behind him, hitter-friendly ballpark, and he's got something to prove after signing that big contract.
Interesting choice. I'm going to go with Matt Shaw, the Cubs prospect. Five-tool player, could be the guy who really gets their offense going.
That's a bold prediction, but hey, anything's possible. Shaw's a special talent, and the Cubs know how to develop young players.
It's going to be exciting to see what happens with all these guys and all the others we talked about over the next few years. This offseason has been a wild ride, and it feels like we're just at the beginning of a new era in baseball.
Absolutely. The game's changing, new stars are rising, and the competition is as fierce as ever. It's a great time to be a baseball fan, that's for sure.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into Major League Baseball's offseason. But remember, it's a baseball. Things are always happening. There's sure to be more surprises and shakeups before the season starts. We'll be back soon to break it all down and keep you in the know. This has been The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being a baseball expert. Thanks for listening, everyone.